Hello, 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 hello. Hello, welcome everyone to East Meets West, Independence Forever, friendly match. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome everyone to East Meets West. Good morning, everyone, and I wish you all a happy Independence Day. Sorry for some technical issues, it took a bit longer for me. The mic somehow got disabled. Anyway, so the games have started exactly at 7:30. We have two teams, DDDBCA and 64 Squares USA, playing a friendly match. 6 players are representing DDDBCA and 6 players are representing 64 Squares USA. On this board we have R. Dhanekula, that is Rithul Dhanekula, representing 64 Squares USA. He is playing against Royal Extreme. So let me just tell you very quickly who are playing on which team. We have Shounak Mazumder, Yash Jyoti Bir, Dhritabrata Kundu, Anjishnu Mondal, Atrinjay Saha, and Shrutartha Maiti. These 6 players are representing DDDBCA from India, and from 64 Squares USA Dream Team, the players are Rithul Dhanekula, Likith Yalam, Deeeptha Srinivas, Anik Malhotra, Surya Vemuri, and Kruthagna Srinivas. So the first game we have R. Dhanekula versus Royal Extreme, and you can see that R. Dhanekula has consumed almost 5 minutes of his time. Royal Extreme is playing a bit fast, and his position is also quite good. After knight c3, if white goes b takes c3, bishop c3 is there, and that will be a fork between the queen and rook. However, black's king is still lying at the center of the board, so white will have enough compensation. So even if black takes on a1, black has to be a bit more careful about the king's situation. So the time control is 15 minutes each plus 10 seconds of increment. Let's take a look at the other games. We have a total of 6 matches. This was the top board game. Let's see what Deep Sri and Dr. Boomkestein is doing. I think Dr. Boomkestein is a wordplay of Dr. Nichtestein. That is our favorite world champion Magnus Carlsen who plays with that ID. So this game arised from a London system. Well, you can see that the white has decided not to castle, keep the king at the center of the board. White's idea is simple, he will attack on the king's side and go for some checkmate threats on h7. So black is thinking how to defend that threat. Dr. Boomkestein is, I'm not sure who he is. Let me check his profile. If it says, okay, that is Shrutartha Maiti, and Deep Sri is Deeeptha Srinivas. Okay, let's take a look at the next game till the players think and decide what to play next. The next game is between Likith 2007. Likith 2007 is Likith Yalam, and his opponent is Atsan 783. Atsan 783 is, let's see who is, Atrinjay Saha. Okay, so let's see what happened so far. The game arises from a center counter or Scandinavian defense. White has decided to defend the b2 pawn with rook a b1. Well, perhaps I would say maybe rook a5 or knight h5, and letting go of the b2 pawn was a better idea. Or perhaps he decided not to give it away so easily because of the simple reason that after bb2 vc3 the bishop will be quite deadly at c3. Yeah, white can always get rid of it by playing knight e2 and so on, but he wanted to keep the pawn alive because black has a bishop pair, so giving black an opportunity to move the bishop freely is definitely not a good idea. So both players have consumed almost equal amount of time. White has just over 12 minutes left and black has less than 11 minutes to go. Till the players decide what to play next, let's take a look at the next game. That is between Raging Questions and Dhritabrata. Dhritabrata 07 is Dhritabrata Kundu. He has a wonderful DP with two-time World Cup winner Levon Aronian, and his opponent Raging Question is Surya Vemuri. So this game has been played very fast. The game already arrived at a king pawn ending. White has an extra pawn and black has a bad pawn structure on the queen side. So with the correct play, white should be able to win this without any difficulty. But king has to go back now, either e6 or g6. g6 is bad because of f5, and that's easier for white to convert into a victory. So king e6 is the best option. After king e6, maybe c4 or king e4, anything is good. Yeah, white played king e4. So you can see that white is playing very fast. He has just consumed over 1 minute on the clock, and black has consumed almost 4 minutes. Anyway, let's take a look at the next game between Skilla Bomb and Tortoise 2017. Skilla Bomb 99 is Anik Malhotra, and Tortoise 2017 is Yash Jyoti Bir. So yeah, this game it is very easy to determine. It has arisen from Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation CD5 ED5, unless there was a huge transposition. Yeah, it's QGD exchange variation, just like I guessed. So if anyone has an advantage in this position, then it would be black, I would say. After bishop f3, maybe black can go for rook h4, bishop h3, g8, rook h3 idea. But of course, black has to see how much feasible it is, because you don't want to play rook h4 and trap your rook. After rook h4, king h2, g3 does not work immediately, but of course, that is something which will be nagging, which will be definitely worth considering in the future. So yeah, black has slight advantage or maybe clear advantage according to computers, but practically it's not going to be easy to convert. It will take some effort, and black is down in time, 8.5 minutes. But then again, it's not a blitz event, so 10 seconds increment is a lot. Okay, let's take a look at the 6th board. Kruthusri playing against Shounak. Kruthusri, his name is Kruthagna Srinivas, and Shounak is Shounak Mazumder. Is the highest rated player in this friendly night's DDDBCA team. So Shounak, as usual, in his attacking display, is launched an attack and perhaps gaining a knight and h5. Whereas both d8 queen and h5 knight is under attack. However, black can also play queen f5. And yeah, black will also have some deadly threat, not only taking on b4 but also rook a8 followed by queen a1 checkmate threat. Yeah, white can easily defend it with knight a2, bishop a2 and so on, but white also has to be very careful about it. Perhaps maybe knight d5, knight e7 can be some interesting idea because the h5 knight is not going anywhere. However, with knight d5 the problem is the g6 coin will drop. So even though knight d5 looks very tempting with the idea of bringing the knight to e7, you cannot just do that because you will lose the knight. So that's why I decided, okay, just to take the knight on h5, queen h5, queen b4 was played, bishop h6. Well, white is not bothered about what's going to happen on the a5 because if white can launch an attack quicker on the king side, then definitely black will have to consider how to defend the king side seriously. Anyway, this one seems like white is going to win. It's just a matter of time because black's queen cannot come to the aid of the g7 bishop. Queen e7 is definitely worth considering, but queen e7 makes no sense because after rook g1 game is over. And if you take on h6, white will play rook g1, or maybe just take on h6 first and then play rook g1. Yeah, it is all over. White is winning here. So, just like I guessed a couple of minutes ago that after bishop f3, rook h4 is definitely worth considering because there is some serious threat on h5, h3. But white can defend it, and the only way to defend it would be to play king h2, and that's exactly what happened. So queen f5, I think maybe black is going with rook h3. That's the idea, rook h3, gh3, queen h3, king g1, queen f3, followed by bishop h3 and queen g2 checkmate. So that's the plan. Let's see how white reacts to it. I don't see any good way to defend it. Perhaps queen d2 maybe, but then also queen d2, rook h3, gh3, queen h3, king g1, queen f3 can be deadly, but the problem is after queen f3, queen d1 will prevent black from playing bishop h3. So maybe black will prepare rook e8, rook e6, rook g6 before playing rook h3. Anyway, let's see the previous game. That was between Dhritabrata and Raging Question. Raging Question is Surya Vemuri. Well, this is completely winning for white. g5, whether black takes or not, it doesn't matter. The h pawn is going to roll down the board and there's no way black can stop it. g5, hg5, king g5, king e5, h6, and the pawn is unstoppable. And even if black doesn't take, white is just simply going to take and roll the h pawn down the board. Here also white is completely winning. It's all over, and you can see that Dhritabrata had already made the pre-move of king g5. This is the advantage of playing in online. When you know the obvious moves, you can make a pre-move and you can completely save time. And here h6 and all over. f5 can be played, but f5 also doesn't change anything because f5, h7, f4, h8 queen comes with a check. So white gets plenty of time to, you know, bring the queen and capture the f pawn and capture the remaining pawns and go for checkmate. Yeah, f6 check doesn't change anything because king g6, king g4 is also correct, but king g6 is the better option because of course you don't want to disturb your king repeatedly and allow further checks. I mean, why would you delay the simple win? Yeah, in general, the bishop pawn can create some trouble, but here white promotes with a check, and the f pawn is quite far away. So white's primary goal should be to bring the queen to f1 or f2. So queen h1 check, queen f1 would be the best and quickest possible way to victory, and to prevent all kinds of shenanigans from black's f4 pawn. Queen h2 is an option, but queen h2 is not worth considering. The reason is simple: black can play king e3 and you don't have queen f2. So yeah, then you have to play queen g2 and get queen f1. So it's better to play queen h6 and get it directly. But queen f6, well, he's going for after f3, I think queen c6, he wants to capture all the pawns, but I think that's a long way to win. There was a quicker way to victory, that is to put the queen in front of the pawn. That is, one of the best ways to win queen versus pawn in games, especially against bishop pawns. Yeah, for queen against any other pawn which is not a bishop pawn, between knight pawn and center pawns, this is the right technique, but against bishop pawn, I don't think queen f6 is the right, because, okay, white is going for queen c6, but yeah, white wants to promote, I don't know, 2 or 3 queens. Let's see what was going on. Oh, a lot has changed since we saw it the last time between Likith Yalam and Atrinjay Saha. It is safe to say that this game is heading towards a draw unless something drastic happens. I don't see any player creating any kind of real practical chances in this position. Rook b5 and black can continue with c6. So c pawn will not drop. Okay, white can push. White will bring the rook to b7 or something, bring the king all the way. Okay, so we have first result. Dhritabrata, who was playing very fast, and he got the victory. So, okay. Anyway, so they are, I think, replaying the game. Let's take a look at this one. Dr. Bunkerstein is Shrutartha Maiti, and his opponent is Deeeptha Srinivas. Yeah, white has a checkmate threat at g7. It's black to play, so black can defend it, queen e7. But queen e7 won't change things, because queen h7 check, f8, rook f1. Or maybe bishop g6 first and then go with rook f1, check my threat, or queen h8, something like that. Or first play rook f1 and then go with queen h7, which is absolutely unstoppable, no matter whatever black tries to do. Yeah, rook f1 is the winning way. Let's see whether Shrutartha can find it. Nope. Okay, anything is winning. Queen h7 is also winning. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think rook f1 in that position would be the quicker option. So another victory for team DDDBCA. Shounak has won the first day. Okay, so they are playing second match. Okay. So the first game between Dr. Bunkerstein and Deepsri, that is Shrutartha and Deeeptha. The first game was won by Shrutartha, and this is the second game with colors reversed. Let's see what's going on over here. So this is an interesting endgame between Rithul and Anjishnu. So in general, a double bishop is much more powerful than a rook. However, the g5 pawn changes the entire dimension. So black has to be very careful and try to stop this g6 pawn. Black will try to gain the g pawn without losing a bishop. But if black loses one bishop to stop the passed g pawn, then white will definitely win the game because white has two extra pawns on b4 and c2, and that will be easy enough for white to use the extra pawns to convert it into a victory. We have Aarti Kapoor wishing the best to Anik Malhotra. So what are your predictions about this match? Do let us know. Black is having some internet connection issues also, as you can see, and now it's fine. Rook h6. The problem with this move is black cannot play bishop f4 now. If you play bishop f4, g7 check, and you cannot take the rook because white promotes. And after king c7, I think white is winning. g7, bd5, rook h8, and g8 is unstoppable. So yeah. So this is the first victory for 64 Squares USA team. Yep, and there's nothing black can do about it. Although black can definitely fight for this game because the remainder bishop can be used to defend. If black can manage to get rid of the extra pawns, then black can definitely maybe save the day. So a5 is an interesting move. It is not over, as you can see. Anjishnu is still fighting, but after c3, white obviously made sure that he is keeping as many pawns alive as possible. Bishop a5. So black is still keeping things difficult for white. Because if you promote now g8 queen, bishop g8, rook g8, and then bishop c3. And bishop c3 also defends the a5 pawn. White has to go with something like b5, but it's still not going to be easy. Anyway, let's see. So Atrinjay has offered a draw, which his opponent has obviously declined, because if anyone can win this position, then that would be white. White although has less time, but it doesn't matter because 10 seconds increment is a lot, and that should be easy enough for white to convert it into a victory. And white did play b5. Anyway, let's see the only other game going on between Scalar Bomb. Scalar Bomb is Anik Malhotra, and Tortoise is Yash Jyoti Bir. So black has sacrificed on h3, like I said before. Let's see the last few moves since we were here. king h2, queen f5, bishop g4, queen takes g4, so bishop g4 was a blunder, f3, queen h5, king g1, and black sacrificed the extra piece to create some chances, some checkmate threats on the king side. Well, the current idea is simple: queen h4, rook g3. But how will white react to it? That's interesting. That's what we are going to see. What white has the option of playing rook f2 or king f2, but rook f2 runs into rook h1, king g2, queen h2 checkmate, and king f2 seems like the only viable option. So white has to run away with the king. Queen d2 or queen c2 also makes no sense because rook h1 check, king f2, king g2 anything, then rook h2 and it will drop. I don't think king g2 is a good idea. It will lead to a checkmate sooner than later. Rook h2, king g3, queen h4 mate, or rook h2, king g1, queen h4. And then how do you stop the checkmate? I don't know. Rook h1 would be a mistake because the king will run away with king f2. So the best way to win for black would be to play queen h4. Or maybe queen h3. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with queen h3 also. Both are equally good. So I think this will be the fourth victory for team DDDBCA. And then game 2 will begin. So out of 6 scores, 3 boards or 3 games have already been won by team DDDBCA friendly nights. Yeah, there is no good way to defend it. Rook f2 runs into queen g3 followed by checkmate. Rook c2, black will just take the queen because in the next move there's still checkmate threat of queen g2. In case you're wondering why black is taking time to decide what to do, because black is wondering if there is a checkmate with rook h1 or something like that. Okay, queen g3 has a checkmate quicker because queen g2 leads to queen g2 checkmate. So that is the reason black was taking a bit longer, because she was not willing to, take a moment more to decide. Anyway, so Anjishnu is still fighting. This is Anjishnu or let me check. Yeah, this is Anjishnu versus Rithul. So Rithul has a practical winning chance, but the real question is how? What is White's winning plan and how does White get a win out of this? Rook b8 check, forcing black to make a decision, and the decision is simple: king f4. If you play rook 8, king will go back, and if you bring the king, black will just simply take the pawn. But the problem is after king c4, you cannot really take it, If you take it, then rook 8 and the bishop will drop, rook 8, king f4, rook f7, and it's all over. So perhaps maybe, yeah, it is over. Rook 8 and the bishop falls. King f4, rook f7, waiting move, king f3, and rook f5, and it's all over. So this was the first victory for 64 squares USA team. And the first set of games will be won by Team DDDBCA Friendly Knights. "64 Squares Dream Team". Yeah, so the first game is over. So first set was won by DDBCA 5-1. Friendly Knights beat Dream Team. However, there is second match with reverse color. So on the second board we have Deeeptha Srinivas playing against Shrutartha. I think we witnessed another QGD exchange. No, this is center counter of Scandinavian defense. So a lot of people are playing Scandinavian because, okay, so his ID is Dr. Boomkerstein. That is inspired from world champion Magnus Carlsen's ID. When Carlsen played Scandinavian a couple of times, so perhaps that is the reason he has also opted to play Scandinavian defense or center counter. Well, let's take a look at the position. I would say that this position is more or less equal. If anyone has any kind of initiative or slide advantage, then that would be white, because white pieces are slightly better placed. Although I am not sure if knight f4 was a good idea. Is h6, queen h4, bishop a8, black can always save the bishop. Bishop e4 is also there, but yeah, I wouldn't prefer bishop e4 immediately. Bishop e4 can be interesting, forcing white to make a decision. If you take, I will take with the knight, or if you play f3, then you are blocking your own bishop spot. So black has an interesting choice to make. Let's see what Shrutartha does here. Or perhaps let's take a look at the other games still they think. So this is Atrinjay Saha playing against Likith, and this one was an English opening. Started as a ready opening with the knight f3, but soon it transposed into an English opening. So here with the move d5, white is asking black a question. What do you want to do? Do you want to save your knight first or take the bishop? Which one you are going to do? Knight e5, knight e7 or bishop e2, and black decided to go with knight e5. If white takes it, then black will take it with the d pawn obviously to open up the rook spot. So I don't think taking was a good idea. Bishop e2 was perhaps a better idea maybe, because you don't want to open up the d5, and d5 makes the position excellent for black, I would say. Now for those who are wondering why I'm recommending something like a double pawn on e5, because it will not actually be a double pawn, because black can always get rid of the double pawn by playing e5, and e4 will always be a nagging threat for white. So bishop e5 is definitely not a good idea. Bishop e5 only helps white. White will be very happy to exchange off. Nope, not the best move. Yeah, because the difference is now there is nothing for black to have a deadly bishop on g7. White took. Still, this is good for black. Black always has e4 and creates some unnecessary trouble for white. e4, f4, f3 and so on. So yeah, right now I would say it is black who has a decent amount of advantage in this position. Perhaps rook f8, because black doesn't need to exchange off any more pieces. Indepence Malhotra wishes good luck to Anik Malhotra. She wrote Dadi here, so I think she's a grandmom. White played c5 with the idea of bishop c4, so that's very tricky for Atrinjay, and black needs to do something about it. Bishop c4 can prove to be quite difficult for black. Yeah, king g7 was played. cv6, queen c2, rook c2. Yeah, it's not good. But perhaps white should exchange off queens, because e4, f4 can prove to be quite difficult for white. Bishop c4, okay. Perhaps rook f6. Of course, not rook d1 check because you don't want to give up the d5. Anyway, let's see the next game. Atrinjay is playing very fast. So for those who are wondering whether White's clock ticked or not, no, definitely it did tick because he played 23 moves. And by playing 23 moves, he gained 230 seconds. So that's over 3 minutes. So definitely he has consumed more than 3 minutes on his clock. Anyway, let's take a look at the next board's game. Dhritabrata against Raging Question. Sorry, this is the actual present position. So it was a Catalan opening. Surya Vemuri opted for Catalan with white pieces. Well, the position, I would say white definitely has an advantage. It's a more than slight advantage, I would say. White has a clear advantage. Why? Because white has an extra pawn on the queen side and white's pieces are much more well placed than black's. Okay, black has a threat on the c4 pawn, but that's not a dangerous threat at all. White can definitely play rook b5 and bring the remainder rook from queen side to king side and create some chances. c4 can easily be defended with b3 once the rook moves from the b3 square. And for black, I don't see any real threat which black can create. So this is definitely a difficult position for black to play this. But for white it is very easy because there is no weakness. b2, f2, everything is well defended right now. So white needs to come up with a plan which he can use to create, trouble on black's king side perhaps. Because nothing can happen on the queen side. I mean, white cannot bring more forces to attack on b6 and successfully capture it. So white has to play on the king side and black has to somehow manage to survive this game. Anyway, let's see the next game between Anik Malhotra and Yash Jyoti Bir. So black has created a fork which is not actually a real threat because queen g4 is there and that defends the knight. And now white will slowly lift the rook e3, rook g3 or rook h3 and then go with h5. Of course, black will try to move the king out of the pin, king h8 and attack the knight, but the knight is not in actual trouble. Knight g3 can be played. Knight h6 is not recommended because where does the knight go from h6? It does not have any practical square where it can possibly go to. Rook g8 was played. I don't know why rook g8. Maybe g5 is the idea, but it does not work. Anyway, I think rook e3, rook f3 is a serious threat. But the only problem with the rook e3, rook f3 plan is after rook e3, rook f3, black will offer queen exchange, queen e6, and white will have no way to decline that offer. So that is the reason white is wondering what to do. Because if you play h5, the problem with h5 right now is white doesn't have sufficient pieces to come to the king side on h5. It would have been better if the king were on g1 and the e1 rook was on h1. Then perhaps h5 could have been a real threat. But in reality, that's not the case. So definitely white is the one who has total control in this position. White has an advantage. But how to practically convert it, that's for white to figure out. That is for Yash Jyoti Bir. Anyway, let's see the next game between Shounak and Kruthagna. So Shounak is winning a piece, I think. Yeah, he is winning a piece. Or queen d5 is a defense. Yep, queen d5 is a defense. And that is exactly what Shounak has found. So Kruthagna cannot take the knight at f6 in case you're wondering, because if white plays bishop takes f6, game over, queen g2, and it will be a checkmate. So taking the knight is not an option. f3, yes, f3 is the only way to defend it. The other way was bishop f1, but of course white does not want to exchange off the queens because black has some dark sword weakness on f6, g7, h6. So keeping the queen alive on the board definitely makes a lot of sense. But after f3, black is considering playing knight d7 first and then rook c1, queen c1, queen d3. Not directly rook c1, because if you play rook c1, queen d3, bishop f6, and the bishop at f6 will be absolutely monster, and the queen at c1 only helps white, because queen h6, queen g7 checkmate threat is definitely something which will create a lot of trouble for black to defend. Well, black always has queen f5, bishop e5, f6 and so on, but of course you don't want to play that kind of endgame where you're always having a threat at the back of your mind that I have to defend my king from being checkmated. Anyway, so Shounak, as usual, for those who know, he takes a lot of time, and when he is in time pressure then he starts playing fast, so he is making full utilization of the time control of 15 minutes plus 10 seconds increment, rapid. Anyway, let's see the top board game. What Rishi and sorry, not Rishi, it's Rithul and Anjishnu is doing. So Anjishnu lost the first match, and in the second match also he has difficult possession. I should say that black is completely winning this. So Anjishnu again needs to find a way to survive this. But rook c1, he has a trick. The trick is knight b5 and to get the queen by doing a family fork. Of course, black will definitely be able to spot it. And we have a winner already in the second game. Dhritabrata lost. Raging question is Surya Vemuri. Surya Vemuri won. So Surya Vemuri got his revenge. And you can see that black is down by a rook and there's a check method at g7. Of course, it can be defended with g6, but there is no point since black is down by a rook. So in the second set, 64 Squares USA has struck first. They scored the first victory for their team. Let's see what's going on board number 2. So Deeeptha Srinivas is definitely having a comfortable position, and perhaps I can say that white has a fantastic advantage. So black has to do something to defend it. Of course, g6 is a blunder because queen h6 and checkmate is unstoppable. There's only one way for black to defend it, and that is by playing queen g6, or perhaps queen e3 first and then queen g5. Queen g6 is a blunder, I'm sorry, because if you play queen g6 then queen g6 check, sorry, not check, queen g6, fg6 and f7 is a check, and game over. So the only way to defend this position for black is to play queen e3. But after queen e3, black has to consider what happens after fg7, queen c1 check, king g2, there is queen f7 and also queen h6, queen h8 mate. So yeah, queen e3 may not be that easy. I think it's over for black. I don't see any defense. Queen e3, yeah, fg7 is very interesting continuation. Let's see if white can find it. Okay, so 64 Squares USA is on a roll. Atrinjay Saha lost, and his opponent Likith Yalam has won. So that's 2-0 for team 64 squares USA. Still 4 boards are on. G6. Okay, so after Queen E3, Rook F1, G6 was played. Yeah. So that is the reason I was telling that after Queen E3, instead of Rook E1, Rook F1, White should have played something like FG7. But okay, I have to switch on the analysis board, then only I can show you, I guess. So FG7. Nope. Anyway, I'll show this later. Live analysis, I guess. Yes. So this is what I was talking about, FG7. This was quite interesting. Queen C1 check, King G2. And there's no further check, there's a checkmate threat at F7. So if you play Queen G5, then White wins, Queen F7, King H7, and G8 Queen checkmate. But the practical problem, the reason White did not go for it is Queen G5 is not forced, Black can play Rook E7. And now you don't have Queen H6 because of the C1 Queen. So yeah. And then well, White is not winning any longer. So that is the reason he did not go for it. So Black went with G6 and saved the position. King G1 and then again Queen E3. Anyway, so let's see what's going on between Anjishnu and Rithul. Rithul is completely winning over here unless something completely drastic happens. So 4 games are still going on. Let's see on the second board. Yeah, I think moves are being repeated, so I guess players are looking for a draw. But I'm not sure if White should settle for a draw because maybe White can push for a win. Rook F3, Queen G5, Rook F4, and I don't know, Rook G4 or Rook H4 or something like that. So 64 squares USA has already scored 3 points. So the remaining Dream Team has already scored 3 points. The remaining 3 players from Friendly Knights DDDBCA should go for a win if they want to win this set. They had already won the first set. So I think the moves are repeated twice already. If Black plays Queen E3, then it should be a draw. And that means 64 squares USA will win this set. Okay, let's see what's going on this board between Yash Jyoti Bir and Anik Malhotra. So Anik is putting up strong resistance. So H5 or something is not going to work because Black can just simply take it and then Queen will be under attack, so you don't get time enough to play Knight F5 or H6 and so on. Okay, on the final board, Shounak is playing against Kruthagna. White definitely has an advantage, be it on the position or also on the clock. So Shounak is in time trouble. So board number 2 had a draw. That means 64 squares USA has already won this set. They have scored 3.5. Dream Team has 3.5 and Friendly Knights has Only half point from this set. Queen d4 wins a piece? No. Knight e5 is there. Yeah, but knight e5 has rook e5, right? Rook e5, rook e5, queen e5, queen e5, bishop c5. No, it doesn't. Rook c1 is there. So queen d4 and black can save the day. Knight e5, correct. Yeah, at some point I think black has to consider playing rook c3 because the longer you allow the c3 bishop to linger on the board, it's only going to cause more trouble than black can ask for. f3 is something worth considering for black, but what should white do here? Bishop e4 perhaps, or maybe bishop e2. Bishop e2 also is met with f3, so bishop e2 does not work. Bishop e4 I think is the only way for for white to prevent f3. Of course queen f4 does not work because knight d3 is a family fork, and then if you play queen f6 or queen d4 or something like that, black will not hesitate to sacrifice his exchange because he had already gained the bishop on d3. So queen f4, knight d3, if you play queen d4 or queen f6, then black will simply play rook c3 and win the game. So black is trying to make a comeback. And win the game. Queen d6, but the e5 knight is still not under attack. Or is it? Bishop e5, rook c1 and queen f6 or something like that. Queen g5. Black is making some simple threats at checkmate threat at g2. I think bishop e4 is the only way. But bishop e4 is met with bishop e4, rook e4, f3. Yeah, I think black is winning this. Black can simply take on e4 and then f3, and checkmate at g2 is quite difficult for white to stop. Rook c2 is there, but then again after rook c2, rook c3, rook bc3, rook c3 should be winning. One way or the other. And surprisingly, f3 is also doing a discover attack on the c1 rook. So even if you don't see how to defend the g2 checkmate, you can always think about, oh, I need to save my rook also. So how do I save the rook and the checkmate threat? There's only one way to do that, and that is to play rook c2. Now what? Rook c3. Yeah, but the problem with rook c3 is white has rook e5. So even if you want to tempt or lure the c2 rook from his defense of the g2 pawn, white will not be forced to move the rook from the second rank. In d2 f2 too many squares are there. f2 can be interesting. f2, king f2 had queen f5 check and the rook would drop. Well, unless white plays king e3, but then knight c4 is there. f6 is an interesting way to defend the knight. Black is saying, look, I will not let you have the a1 h8 diagonal. If you want to take my knight, you are most welcome, but if you take, you will also lose the bishop And if white gives a check, queen e7, queen e6, king g7, queen e7, king h6. So not king h6, I'm sorry, king h6 has bishop d2. Knight f7. So black has only 20 seconds left on the clock and white has 5 minutes. So Kruthagna has all the time in the world to think what to do next. Bishop f6. Is it over if white plays bishop f6? Bishop f6, where does the queen go? Queen f5 only move, I guess. Because if the queen goes anywhere else, say queen g3 or queen h5 or something, white can always go with, queen c8, rook c8, rook c8, knight d8, rook d8, and white will win. Yep, bishop f6 was played, and the only way for black to save the day is to play queen f5. Nothing else works. Queen f5, queen f5, gf5, rook c5, bc5. Oops, black decides to give up the queen. Bishop g5, but unfortunately rook g2, rook g5 doesn't work because black is just one move short. Rook c1 checkmate is not there because of the g5 bishop, and black cannot take on g5 because queen c8. So 14 seconds and counting. Black needs to come up with something. Rook c2, all out attack. Black is going for some rook f2, rook a2, queen e8, king g7. Well, there's no check and the g5 bishop is also under attack. So perhaps it's time to retreat, I guess. Bishop e3 maybe. Yeah, the position looks winning for white, but black has a few threats, so that could definitely change a lot of things. So white has a lot of time, that's why white is taking his time to think. Anyway, till then, let's see. So not a lot has changed since we saw the last time. Yeah, she is taking her time to decide how to bring her pieces to the king side. But I think black has managed to hold the position. King e2 to h1 is a plan, but black also has enough defense on the king side. Both rooks, queen and knight, all of them are quite well placed to defend the king. Okay, so since we saw that last time, let's see what happened. King g7, rook e7 was played, black gave a check, king e1 and the rooks got exchanged. Wow, Shounak managed to win this. Wonderful. It's a complete 180. Yes, Dhritabrata, I'm watching his game. He completely changed the face and now he's completely winning. What a brilliant comeback. Yep, this is simply winning. But let's see what actually happened in that position. Because after king g7, white played rook e7. I mean, check, king moved. Okay, so otherwise there was a draw. I mean, if you go to the king side, black keeps giving a check with the h rook. And white had to take it. If king d1, then rook f1 went. Wow. So there's nothing white could have done about it. White should have actually taken a draw in this position, I should say. King g1, rook g2, king f1. You cannot play king h. Okay, you can play king h1 because of rook h2, king g1 and so on. Anyway, so this is winning. This is what happened. Yeah, black is not interested in exchanging any pawns. Shounak is like, I will keep all the pawns on the board and then capture as many as I can. So he's not leaving things to chance. This is something when you are playing in online chess. This is different from over the board chess. So for those who are wondering why Shounak took time in taking both pawns, it's not just for something which looks good. He did that just to make sure that he secures the minimum draw, just in case he gets disconnected or something. And of course, he is going to win this. Anyway, let's see the other game because this one is already over. So white has finally played h5, the break which was happening for a long time, and black blundered with rook h7. Rook h7 allowed white to play rook f7, and now if black takes on f7, h6 check is there, and if you go back rook h7, then white will definitely take it. So Shounak scored the first victory for not Dream Team, first victory for Friendly Knights, that is Team DDDBCA. After rook f7, the position is extremely difficult for black. Perhaps rook g7, so rook g7 is met with king g7 and h5 pawn remains in the pin. White gained a valuable pawn. So Dream Team has already scored 3.5 and Friendly Knights have scored 1.5 in this set. So first set was won by Friendly Knights Team DDDBCA and second set is won by Team 64 Squares USA. G takes h5. Interesting. I don't think that's a brilliant idea because now the king will be completely exposed after queen h5. But yeah, I think after queen h5, black is considering playing queen g5. But since white has so many extra pawns, I think it is safe for white to exchange off the queens. Queen h5, queen g5, queen g5, rook g5 or knight g5, whatever. King e2 and then bring the rook from h5. White should reserve playing rook a1 because rook a1 will lose a tempo unnecessarily. So white should not play rook a1. Because later on creating an attack on the 7th rank can help white to gain one of the pawns between a7 and b7, so that is the reason. And if black does not exchange the queen, so queen g5 or something like that, or queen e8, white's plan is simple: king e2, rook h1, knight f5, and then just launch an attack on the king side because black's king at h8 is much more vulnerable than white's king. Yeah, white is completely winning over. Here in this position, white has 2 extra pawns and the position is fantastic. Anik is wondering. Okay, queen f6. Yeah, I think e2 is safe to play. Rook e1. Okay, she wants to go with rook e3 and so on, and that was a blunder. Oops, that was a terrible blunder. Rook g5. Queen h3. White is hoping for some kind of perpetual or composition. Queen c8, queen b7, and so on. Rook e3 idea is, I guess, rook f3 and then start giving checks. Queen c8, queen c7, and hope to get a draw or something. But yeah, white, even if white manages to exchange off queens and get a couple of more pawns, white already has 2 pawns for a knight, so it's not exactly over. Yeah, white should take the b7 pawn because there's no immediate threat on g or h file over here. Of course, exchanging right now is a bad idea because although white has 2 pawns for a knight, but that won't be sufficient because black has enough pawns to fight back. So queen b7 was played, both a7 and c6 are hanging. White again offered a draw. I don't know why white is offering a draw because it's still worth playing because white has 3 pawns for a knight and it is far from over. It's not like knight g5 will cause the end for white. Knight f6. Perhaps knight g4 is the threat, but yeah, not a real threat, so queen c6 is still fine. Queen e7, that's okay. So after knight g4, white is planning to play rook f3 followed by rook f8 threat. So perhaps maybe that is the reason queen e7 was played. Yeah, queen d6. Rook f8. Knight h7 is forced. Rook f3, I guess. No. So I hope now white realizes that making a draw for was not the best idea in that position because white should definitely play this position since now white has 5 pawns for a knight. And not only that, because it's not easy for black to go for a win in this position. Queen e5 and drops another pawn. So now white has 6 pawns for a knight. It is safe to say that if white plays, that was an unnecessary check. White should try to bring the rook f3, rook f4, rook h4 or something like that, and then roll the pawns down the board. White should definitely go for a win. Queen f6 or queen d4, anything is fine. Yeah, I would say queen f6. Maintaining the pain is very much important because queen f6, the idea is simple: rook f5, rook h5, and not only that, it also makes sure that the g7 rook is not free to move anywhere. Nope, not the best move. White needs to make sure that all black's pieces are in a bind. They're not free to move. Queen f6 should be played now. Okay, the idea is queen h6 check. If rook h7 then queen g6, and queen h6 will be forced to be met with queen h7. So black played queen h7 before. Yeah, white should start moving the pawns. e5 maybe. I mean, if not now, then when? Because white is clearly winning now. Knight h4 is a tricky move, but it doesn't have any practical threat. Knight h4, you cannot play queen h4 because of queen h4, and that means the g7 rook will be pinning the g3 wall. So knight h4 should be met with queen e3. Now white's objective should be to just simply roll the pawns. d4, d5, e5. Don't push one pawn too far without the proper support. So then, yeah, knight h4 is simply pointless. Rook g8 is forced, followed by queen f6, and the knight drops. Oops, black just dropped the knight. Queen f6, queen g7. What? Okay, this is also fine. Yeah, white didn't need to bring the king. Just roll so many pawns are there. Even if you lose one or two, it wouldn't matter. So white wants to push all the pawns, I guess. What? Yeah, finally white saw that pushing all the pawns is good. What? Why are you moving the king? Simple f7, g7, anything leads to a checkmate. Oh, she wants to move. What? So she wants to move all the pawns to the 7th rank. Okay, so that was the last game. Match complete. DDDBCA won 7-5. So that's the total score. So the first set was won by Friendly Knight, second set was won by Dream Team, and the final score is 7 points total for Friendly Knights and 5 points in total for Dream Team. Yes, Dhritabrata, I think Rook f3 was better instead of g4. Anyway, that's all for today. I hope you all enjoyed the games and the analysis. Do like the stream and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching. Bye everyone, and once again, happy Independence Day.